So much. Thanks again, John, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule to view this event and allowing us to show you a very high-level overview of what Scilligence is capable of. My name is Alan Olage. I am an account manager at Scilligence, and I'll guide you through the slides today, and Jimbo will handle the questions at the end of the panel. So most of us are familiar with the drug discovery cycle that pharmaceutical companies tend to go through. In this slide here. So it's gotten from a historically large pharmas taking this on their own internally to a more collaborative effort nowadays. It's changed. So now a majority of companies actually outsource the make portion of the cycle to synthesize compounds overseas with CROs, or they'll collaborate with academic labs for either assay testing or even a design implementation. And so what this has brought about is a change in how the drug discovery cycle is conducted, especially with the introduction of lab digitalization. So now we have a collaborative effort that we need to go through, and we also need to be able to integrate software. Majority of labs are either use either paper-based lab notebooks or have old software that was inherited from prior attempts or pieced together by their internal IT department. You also have large generation of data management to handle. Researchers need to be able to access this data and share it. And once you do identify a hit, you need to be able to have unique entity registration. It's no longer just small molecules. Now it's also biologics or bifunctional entities as well, such as DNA encoded libraries, antibody drug conjugates, and PROTACs. So there are some challenges when a company decides to embrace laboratory digitalization. There are many. I'll only focus on 4 and the solutions that we provide, but I'll highlight a few of the big ones. One is data management. So it's very easy to quickly adapt a file-based system to store and manage all of your data. And the problem with this is that you're storing data across spreadsheets, Word documents, PowerPoint, and it's not in one location. So it's inefficient and it's also prone to human error. It's not uncalled for that the colleague thinks they have the most recent assay results and actually it was sent to the wrong colleague via email, or it was stored in the wrong share room, etc. So the overall reliability of a file-based system is poor. We also have to deal with data silos. This is a big challenge in that integration with different software is either non-existent or difficult at best. We've seen often with clients that they have separate ELNs for both chemistry and biology, or they'll have standalone software for registration and inventory or LIMS systems. So once you start to increase your data set, it quickly begins to overwhelm the storage and accessibility of data that's barred behind silos. With entity registration, you do need separate systems for different entities. A lot of clients we've also seen, they have their own small molecule registration system. One in particular that does antibody drug conjugates has another registration system exclusively for antibodies. And nowadays, therapeutic solutions are not just limited to small molecules, but they also include macromolecules and biological sequences. So it's a challenge for the laboratory to try to unify everything into one registration system. And finally, I'll discuss collaboration. There's difficulties in accessing and sharing data when you do have a file-based system or when you do have fragmented data warehouses. It really makes internal and external project management difficult and not easy to do. So the solution that we propose is a unified informatics platform. Instead of a file-based system for database management, we have a database system. It's easily searchable. You can share it with colleagues, and it's more reliable since the latest data is usually implemented into that data warehouse. We also believe that integration, in fact, seamless integration, eliminates data silos. So a lot of these integrations are workflow driven, and we've introduced that concept in the field of workflow driven integration. And I'll go into more detail in a couple of slides, but it allows the data to not be restricted and flow easier between either modules or third-party software integration. With regards to entity registration, we believe a unified registration system is better than having 2, 3, or maybe even 4 different registration systems. So in Scilligence, our registration system allows for both small molecules and biologic or bifunctional molecules. And we do this through the use of Helm. Scilligence is the developer of the Helm web editor. We work with the Pistoia Alliance to quickly make this the standard. And we're very proud of the fact that we've developed the editor, and it's a proprietary sketcher within our platform. And lastly, we've designed a collaborative platform from the ground up. Our solutions are platform agnostic. They're very easy to deploy, and it allows researchers to both index and search their data wherever it's produced, right? And we also have a pretty strong security feature. You want to protect your IP, your precious IP that you're developing in the race for trying to find a drug therapy. And we have, by design, included security within our collaborative efforts. So who are we? Scilligence, and the name is Scilligence. It's a portmanteau of science and intelligence, but that's okay. Most people say Scilligence. But Scilligence is a Boston-based company that's privately owned, and it was established 10 years ago. Our products are web-based and Java-free, and we ensure that they're platform agnostic. So whether you're a Mac enthusiast, PC, or you want to work on a tablet, all you need is an internet connection and browser search capabilities, and you're able to use our software. As I mentioned earlier, we are the developer of the Helm web editor, and we're a project partner with the Pistoia Alliance's SEED project. We're also the developer of monomer.org. If you're interested in that website, I invite you to look it up after the webinar to familiarize yourself with it. As John mentioned earlier in his introduction, the FAIR data principles play a huge role in data management, and Scilligence is an early practitioner of FAIR. We also believe in seamless integration via APIs. And we also think that we're facilitators for both internal and external collaboration. So I'm going to go into a little more detail on our solutions and how they can benefit either large pharma, mid-sized pharma, academics, or even government institutions. So rather than read off boring bullet slides, I like to use a story of DNA encoded libraries that really enhance and showcase how a database system is superior over a file-based system. Now, DAL libraries have been used recently by pharmaceutical companies as a tool to really try to find hits, almost as an augmentation over their traditional high-throughput screening campaigns. And the DNA encoded library campaign really includes a diverse set of modalities and a complex data set that you have to go through. So you start from the beginning, just in the design of the scaffold that you're going to use for your library, to the registration of the headpiece, the DNA tags, your building blocks, your validation of building blocks and protocols. Remember, chemistry done in DNA is very different from traditional organic synthesis. Once you've developed the libraries and you've done, let's say, a 3-cycle DEL campaign, now you have to run through an affinity selection campaign and identify and deconvolute through next generation sequences what your hit was. This would be very difficult to maintain with a file-based system. But with a database system, you're able to store all of that metadata from different sources, and different users at different points in the DEL library campaign will be able to utilize this data. With regard to integration, we really do believe in eliminating data silos. And I'd like to give you our 2 examples of how we internally and with our clients have eliminated these silos. The first example is a medicinal chemistry example of a researcher synthesizes a compound, registers it, and pushes it to inventory seamlessly, all from their ELN. Now, when you do push it to inventory, we give you the option of pushing the entire amount for storage or splitting it into different containers. Perhaps you want to have different aliquots for ADME testing or drug-like property testing in another biology area. It's a bidirectional integration as well. Not only can I push it from my ELN from its inception stage, registration and inventory, but I can also pull material from inventory into my ELN. Let's assume I've registered or I've put into inventory 10 grams of an advanced intermediate. Now I want to use 1 gram. I can pull that from the inventory module into my ELN, and inventory will track the deduction of the amount I used. I've used 1 gram, now inventory will accurately say there are 9 grams available. Not only that, it'll leave a tag that says exactly who took it out at what time. Second example I'd like to describe is a workflow-driven integration. And by this, I mean, we can create a workflow for collaborative needs that helps automate data flow. And the example I have in the bottom in the workflow is a CRO synthesis workflow, a CRO synthesis request. So in this case, we can envision a researcher wanting to draft or has an idea for CROs to synthesize, let's say 100 compounds. They draft this request, get internal approval, and then start passing it through our workflow engine. So once it's approved, you can assign it to a drop-down menu of CROs that you work with. Once you choose that, if a CRO accepts the work, then you're on. You can visualize the weekly updates. You can update them, contribute to them, read them during this workflow, as well as real-time data. Should the CRO also have the ELN, you can actually in real time update and visualize what they're doing. Once the entire workflow is finished, the CRO has finished the synthesis, you can now pre-register those compounds, review them for quality control, finalize the report, and when those compounds are shipped, once you receive them, you're able to register them and push them into inventory. Once in inventory, they're able to be solubilized by DMSO at a specific concentration for the next assay testing round. So all of this shows how this is a workflow-driven integration, and you really are just smashing through these data silos. They should be non-existent. Adding on the integration phase, we also have a number of strategic partnerships. We realize we can't do everything. And so we've partnered with experts in their field, and we're not limited to one service provider. So Scilligence has partnered with CAS's SciFinder, Elsevier's Reaxys, and Certara's D360 for data visualization. The more partnerships we have and the more capabilities that are available at our fingertips, we're able to help the researcher discover that drug more efficiently and quickly. Now, in entity registration, again, as I mentioned, since we are the developer of the web Helm editor, Helm web editor, excuse me, we're able to register in one single database a variety of unique entities, ranging from small molecules, biologics, plasmids, DNA, etc. The example I have here, and it's a great example that CDD used as well, is an antibody drug conjugate. And here in the example, you can see there's three components to the antibody drug conjugate. The small molecule payload, typically there's a peptide linker, and the antibody itself. With our registration system, you're able to register each unique entity and assign the genealogy or the relationship that each entity has with the entire package. So I can easily say antibody 7 has been assigned to a specific antibody drug conjugate, but it also has been assigned to other ADCs, and I can search for that with our federated search engine. We're also collaborative by design. So what I mean by that is we were designed, the ELN and all our modules are designed with collaboration in mind, both internally and externally. So in the internal collaboration, within your company, you can actually assign different levels of security, either by site or by division. So if you're a global company that has several sites around the world, the ELN or the registration systems that you have can be either separated or combined, depending on your business need. Delving a little further, you can actually assign the projects. You can really promote project level security. If you have 15 different projects and you don't need every researcher to have access to all 15, you can easily select teams that are assigned to specific projects. Now, one member can be assigned to multiple projects or just one. It really depends on the client. That being said, this translates also to external collaboration. We can do the same thing with CROs. The CROs that a company uses, they have no idea that the other CROs exist because you shield them from access to that data and you protect your valuable IP. All of this is capable with our collaborative platform. Now, since there is no software to download or install, it's easy on, easy off. All you need is a web browser to access our modules. And there's real-time data capturing and feedback, right? So a good example that I like to give is, let's say you are working with a CRO or an academic lab to develop something. You can actually visualize that ELN in real time and leave a chat feedback that the scientist will then receive an email alert to, saying, hey, John looked at your experiment, noticed that your yields for the Suzuki was low, and the recommendation is to use a better catalyst or a different base. Instead of waiting for those weekly updates, in real time, you've addressed this problem and saved time. So it's a workflow-driven, collaborative platform. So, went rather fast here. I didn't want to go over time. So in summary, how do we develop our solutions, right? And we believe in just collective wisdom. Our team, first and foremost, most of our team have a science background and have worked in the industry, as well as our programmers and develop our software. So that's a great base to begin with. We have a science-backed team that understands the pain points and that is willing to listen and understand the workflows that are unique to each different client. A second thing is we really do utilize client feedback. This is crucial. If we don't listen to client feedback and we force the client to use our software the way we want them to, you're going to lose clients. Right? You need to be able to adapt to that feedback, to their workflow, and to that pain point. It's an invaluable lesson that we use to improve our software. We also recognize that we're much stronger developing solutions together within the scientific community. So we work together to build better solutions. Monomer.org was recently introduced, and it specializes in monomer libraries. This is something that we work with the Pistoia Alliance to develop. So we're the developer of monomer.org. The same thing with their seed project, which is an ontology project that they're developing with a variety of other companies. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we are the developers of the Helm web editor, which is now the standard for the representation of complex biomolecules. So working together, we can really improve not only our software, but also our approach to drug discovery. And that's our philosophy. And it's been a pleasure. I am actually early. I managed to finish on time, and I'll save the questions for the end. Thank you very much for your time.